Party. I'm your host for today, Fawzi Mesmar,
And I'm Rami. It's fine.
and Osama might pop in at some point.
Might pop in.
We,
Might
we
pop in.
don't
Might
know.
also not pop in.
He's traveling, he's on a different time zone, so he may or may not pop in while we're doing this.
We'll see what happens.
It's good. I think it's the first time for him to be in Emirates, like a long time or something.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think he was there last when he was like a kid, wasn't he?
That must be a hell of a ride.
Yeah, that must be interesting.
I would love to. Yeah, I'm looking forward if he pops in today or like next week to hear about all of his adventures.
Yeah, same.
How you doing, Rami?
I'm good. I'm having a really good week.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been good. I had my girlfriend visiting last week, and she had to do a performance,
Oh, nice.
and it's just really fascinating to watch that whole process. She's a singer.
Uh huh.
She's a soundtrack vocalist, so she sings on soundtracks, including for video games.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the bigger projects she's worked on is the Horizon series.
Ah, cool.
Like the sort of like Horizon theme.
Yeah,
Like she's the singer on that.
that's a great song.
Yeah, so she was asked to perform at the launch party for it this week, and it's just so fascinating how much work goes into that, man.
Oh, yeah.
Like she knows the song, she knows how to sing it. Like that's not the hard part, but you got to be careful with your voice. You got to make sure you don't get sick. You got to make sure that you have the energy to actually perform and to
Yeah.
project and to like tune into your emotions. And
Yeah.
it's like a multi-day. It's just a multi-day process
Yeah.
just to get ready for it.
Yeah, there are things that are no-nos, right? So like no tobacco, no
Yeah,
alcohol, certain foods you can't eat beforehand because
yeah.
that'll
She
affect you.
she drinks a lot of ginger tea.
Oh yeah.
That was the thing. Like I think as an Arab, I'm pretty used to ginger.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you just put it in tea or put it in something. Like, how bad can it be? But like the stuff that she drinks, like I drank like a sip, it just burned my entire throat out. I was like, this doesn't make your throat. This doesn't make things better. This makes it worse. But no, it makes it better apparently. Like a little bit of ginger, well, a little bit of ginger. It's mostly ginger, and then a little bit of lemon, a little bit of honey. And she just drinks that by the pitcher to
Yeah.
make sure that her voice is good.
I wonder if you mix that up with some wasabi, will that really
Oh
spice
my
things up?
god, oh my god! At least your nose will be clear as well.
I-
Um, but yeah, just so seeing that whole process of her getting ready for it and sort of dealing with the performance, it was super fascinating. Like I know her from live performances. That's where we met,
yeah.
but obviously like I hadn't at that point. I hadn't really seen the prep for it. Only like the actual performance,
Yeah.
and that was always very intense. Like she doesn't speak too much. She keeps her voice like calm and like quiet, and like make sure that she has the power in her vocal cords that she needs to project some of those honestly incredible notes. But yeah, she nailed it. It was really cool to watch that. So.
How was the party?
Um,
You were the plus one this time around.
I was the plus one. I haven't been a plus one at an industry party for like years. It was so cool. Um, yeah, I mean, it was really cool. Like, it's always nice to see a large studio celebrating their releases, right?
Yeah.
And Gorilla is a studio that's really near to me, near and dear to me. Like here in the Netherlands, a lot of great people at that studio. Um, so yeah, watching sort of the studio directors like get on stage and thank everybody, and like running into a lot of friends and people I know. It was a really nice Dutch games industry party in a way.
Yeah.
Um,
Release
so it was really
parties are
good.
always like a high point, and not just like for the project, but also like a very memorable moment to kind of like close off an important life milestone.
Yeah, exactly.
So like for me, like when I was like get around with like industry friends, we go like, oh, remember the launch party for game X or game Y, and it'd be like, oh yeah, that game we did this and that, and like we had these experiences. It's like a almost always like a reference point to a point in time.
Hmm. Yeah, Yeah, and it's nice because Julie, the girlfriend, was a surprise. She opened the party
Oh yeah,
by singing the theme live, so I know that she'll be a memory for a lot of these people for decades, probably.
that's amazing.
Uh, so it's really cool. They had like all sorts of, it was like a launch party. It was all sorts of like themed stuff, and it was just really well done. A really good app venue. It was a good party. We stuck around for a bit, and then we went home because she had to fly out back home
Yeah,
the next day, so we didn't stay too long. But it was really nice. And beyond that, just like the week is really good. Like, um, my dad came back from Egypt and brought like lots of basbousa and kunafa and
ooh,
balhasham, and
ooh,
like so
sounds awesome.
I gained like 3 kilos in like a day and a half. So that was. And luckily, my dad also got me a new jalapeño.
Oh, nice.
So and it was a slightly larger size than I normally needed. So I think he prepared for it. So between the food and like I've got lots of new Egyptian stuff at home.
Is it a stay-at-home Galabio or is it going out?
St- Very much a stay-at-home one, like
Yeah,
very like plain, like casual, like really nice.
those things are so comfortable.
They're so comfy and like Egyptian cotton, like like so soft.
Oh, nice man.
Um, yeah, I'm so happy. Um, yeah. Beyond that, what else? I did some flying stuff, but I'll talk about that a little bit later.
Yeah,
That was kind of it. Like just a really good week. Like hanging out, like going to the launch party, flying airplanes, seeing that again. Like just good times.
that's
How
cool,
about
man.
you?
Yeah, I had a bit of a week myself, busy as usual. Flew back just over the weekend from Lithuania. It was my first time over there.
You were in Vilnius, weren't
I
you?
was, yeah, I was doing a talk at
Oh,
Comic Con over there.
y- nice. I really love that place.
It's my first time, and I fell in love almost instantly. Man, what a beautiful
Yep,
city! Uh,
really is.
awesome people, and I think I've seen more Ukrainian flags than Lithuanian flags.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're super close, the two nations,
Yep.
and
Yeah, of
you
course.
could tell. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've never been, like, honestly, so I really got an introduction to the games industry over there. Got to meet a lot of the people that like the people from the studios, some of the notable designers and
Yeah.
key
Good
stakeholders,
folks.
the IGDA people. Yeah, amazing folks.
Mm-hmm.
Also, like, for it's just a small country slash small city. Like, I think the city itself is like 500,000 people.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, when I went to the Comic Con, I was expecting, like, a smallish event. It's not San Diego Comic Con for sure, but it's huge. There was a
They go
lot of
hard.
people. Yeah,
Yeah, for sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
there was loads of people. Yeah, yeah. I went to my talk, and like, I was also expecting, like, a small, like, cozy industry
Nope.
event. But yeah, there was everybody. There were people in my talk in costume, which I really liked. Like, I think there was a Mad Hatter that was like filming the entire
Amazing.
talk on his phone.
Right.
uh, no, it was cool. It was cool. You get to meet a whole bunch of people, get to see a lot of the city. And I tell you what, those guys can party at the drop of a hat.
Oh yeah.
Like,
Yeah, yeah. They don't need much of a prep there.
yeah, there's like, there's music pumping everywhere. Like, at some point, I think we're walking down the street. We're going to a restaurant to grab something to eat, and it was raining. Apparently, it's raining all the time there anyway, so that wasn't news to anyone. And there was this DJ under this tent, like this makeshift tent under the rain, and there's this dude and his turntables and his smoke machine, and it's firing up like a blue and yellow lights through the smoke machine, and it's just like playing
Mm-hmm.
like music, and people in the street are just dancing. And it's like, I've seen like something like this 2 to 3 times. We were like walking in the mall, and like one of the shops in the mall after hours was a party. I was like, okay, wow, these guys know how to party.
It's yeah, it's a great place. It has a lot of soul to it.
Yeah. A
It really
super green
does.
city as well. Like
Yep,
the
beautiful place.
buildings are quite spacious between each other. Like like you don't get
Hmm.
that feeling of a city when like every centimeter of real estate is important and you have to build something there. So they're like a building, a little forest, a building, a large forest. We get like a sky view of the city and it's super green. Loved it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll be back for sure.
Yeah, yeah, no, it's same thing. I was there for. I mean, was this game on as part of Comic Con,
That's
or
true.
was
Yeah,
it
Game
not
On
game
were
on?
there too. Yeah,
Cool. Yeah, I've been to Game On a few times. I
yeah,
think twice, and just yeah, super like such good experiences in that city.
yeah. So probably hung out with pretty much most of the same people, I imagine.
Yeah, probably did.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was cool, and some of the other speakers are working on like some cool stuff. There were some peeps from 11-bit Studio talking
Mm-hmm.
about this war of mine,
Mm-hmm.
and I spoke about this game in the podcast. It's one of my favorite games, so it was kind of cool, kind of like um, listen up to the talk of how they went through the process of making that game, and
Yeah.
having a chat with the peeps about the game later on afterwards as well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Such an interesting game.
yeah, yeah, for sure. That game, I think, like one of the things I love about it. I'm not sure if I mentioned this on the podcast, but it's the weight in decision making that makes the narrative so powerful.
Mm-hmm.
Because like you need to make the choice that will have a narrative impact. So because of that, you say, "I did this to those people." It's not my character did this to those people.
Yeah.
So when you're playing like an Uncharted game, and as a player you shoot a whole bunch of people, you say Nathan Drake shot a whole bunch of people. You know,
Yeah.
it's kind of like you had to make that choice in order for the game to progress. Therefore, there's a detachment between your actions and the narrative ramifications of them. It's you're still like piloting an avatar, so to say. Whereas in this war of mine, you need the medicine. The medicine is in the cabinet with these old people. Then you went there and took the medicine, or
Yeah.
you decide not to go and leave it, or you decided to pull out the gun. It's a player decision. There's many ways to approach the situation, and the game acknowledges what you did without letting you feel guilty about it either. And how do I say this? The game doesn't blame you. You feel guilty, but the game doesn't blame you, doesn't actively blame you for what you've done. And that's such a powerful narrative tool.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. Yeah, they really nailed it with that game.
Yeah.
I still like it's it's a very special. It's a very special game that way because I think it really proved that the sort of attitude towards war that we see in a lot of games is just because it's very specific cultures making those games,
Yeah.
right? And building on that tradition, but that it is possible to do something completely different. Um, but then they also just kind of nailed it. You know,
Yeah.
that can't have been an easy game to make. And like, I've talked to developers, you've talked to developers now.
Hmm.
It's the fact that they got it done at all is kind of impressive
Yeah.
for something that strange. But yeah, beautiful games.
Yeah.
Did you
Well,
ever play the expansions?
no, actually, I found out about most of them from the talk actually that they presented. So I was like, okay, maybe I'll go back and play it. I saw I think the other
Yeah,
day the what is it called, the final cut or something like this. I don't know, the game of the
yeah.
year
I think it has
edition,
everything in
the
there.
one that
Yeah,
has everything. I saw that on Game Pass, so maybe I'll just give that a go.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
a
I think it was three DLCs if I remember correctly.
yeah. Yeah, there's so much to unpack in that game. It's so good. I want to go back and play it. But it's one of those games,
Yeah,
man. It's like it's tough to play. So you know what I mean. It's
yeah.
it's a heavy like it's a heavy endeavor to go into that game.
It's a rough game. It's not a pleasant game.
No, but
It really isn't.
I'm happy it's there.
Yeah, and I'm also happy to have played it, but I'm not sure I'm going to play it again.
Yeah. It,
Like, just really, I'm not.
one playthrough sticks enough with you, I guess,
Yeah, right.
already.
Ugh,
That's so
yeah.
good.
No, it's so good, so good.
Mm.
Exhausting though.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Super exhausting.
Are there any games that you feel? Any other games that you feel that way about? Where you're like, I'm. I had it. I had it the other day. I rewatched Whiplash,
Oh
the
yeah.
movie. I
Oh, I
think we
love
talked
that
about it
movie. Yes,
here.
and it was exhausting for
I
you to
can't.
watch. Yeah.
I can't watch that movie.
Yeah.
I just can't.
Yeah.
Can't deal with it.
I love that movie. Um, yeah, there are some games like that for me. Papers, Please is like that for me.
Mm-hmm.
Papers,
But I've
Please.
played Papers, Please a few times.
Yeah, it's a heavy
Yeah, I don't
game.
think it's as yeah, it's heavy, but it's less exhausting. I think.
Hmm.
I feel like there's less stress. There's more. It feels like you have more breathing room.
What games?
Maybe.
What games stress you out in that way?
Yeah, good question. Good question. Actually, I really think that this war of mine really was sort of like the first time I really felt that feeling where I was like, "Oh, not sure I can do that again." Um, yeah, I don't actually think other games have really done that to me. That's why I was asking. Maybe there's more. Maybe I just
Yeah.
missed them. But
Oh, the reason why I
no.
said Papers, Please is that like that whole experience of like needing to provide that paperwork, making sure that even if you're like this person who is innocent, but you're guilty until proven innocent, kind of thing, is it's a very close experience to an Arab man going through custom control.
Yeah, it was weird watching that from the other side, huh?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's weird, but
Yeah.
it's like it's too close to home. Like the idea of like you gotta
Yeah.
get your papers in order and like the number of hoops you need to jump in just to be able to be allowed in is I think like from an article I read, I think Lucas Pope was traveling in Southeast Asia, and that was like one of the first times he had to get visas, and that's what
Mhm.
inspired him to make this game. And for the
Can you
majority of my
imagine?
life, that's basically me
Yeah.
everywhere I want to travel.
Can you imagine just having that happen like around the time you're 30, like the first time you need a visa? That sounds great.
Man, it's like I think when I was a kid, the notion of visas was like what I thought is what everybody needed when they travel. So like
Yeah.
one point I remember like when I was a kid, I was thinking to myself, how do like flight attendants do this? Like h- do they have like 40 visas? How like they're flying all the time. How did they get these many visas in time? I was like, maybe they have a special passport. So that was like the conclusion that
Mhm.
that the kid
Mhm.
me had, that there's a special pilot and flight attendant passport that just
Well, I can
allows
tell
you
you
to go
that
in.
doesn't exist.
or they never let them in, they just stay in the airport.
Nice.
Those were like the two explanations that my brain that could come up with. And then like later on in life, I was like, oh my god, like yeah, there's this entire part of my struggle that there's a big portion of this planet can't even relate with you
Right.
know
Yep. Yep. For sure.
Not
No,
not that they can't because they don't want to. It's just not part of their reality at all. So like they've never
yeah.
really thought about this before.
Yeah. I'm always shocked at Europeans going like, "Yeah, no, went to Africa, I had to get a visa. It was such a pain." I'm like, was that your first visa?" They're like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Oh my god." Okay. Okay, your life is difficult. I hear you. You know. Um Speaking of though, because there's just a segue here that Osama would be proud of, but
Yeah.
I completed an exam for my flight class today.
Oh, nice.
I actually have two big milestones, or three, two or three big milestones. I don't know.
Okay.
So I don't know if I told you about this one, but the first one is I did my first solo landing on a different airfield. Did I tell you about that?
No, tell us more.
So the part of your program, part of what you need to do before you can do examination, part of it is called a cross country flight,
Mm-hmm.
where you need to fly to different airfields. And I've set myself the ridiculous challenge for no reason whatsoever. The official requirement is you need to fly 150 kilometers and land at two different airfields solo, nobody with you in the airplane.
Wow.
Um, so I've set myself the challenge for that cross country navigational flight that I want to go to every airport in the Netherlands,
Wow.
which is a bit more than 150 kilometers and a bit more than two airfields. I think it's like 8 or 9 airfields. And I just want to do that in one day. But to do that, there's two requirements. A, my flight school won't let me fly solo to a field that I've not been to with an instructor before
Mm-hmm.
because they want to brief you on the airfield, right? Um, so I need to go dual to each airfield. And then depending on how much trust the relevant instructor has for your solo day, they will let you fly to certain airfields. So I've now been. Last week was my first ever time that they let me fly solo to a different airfield, and I flew to two. I flew to Hogeveen,
Mm-hmm.
slightly in the north, and to Teugen, and I did two solo landings there and each airfield. This week I flew solo to Teugen. I'd done that before. No, I hadn't done that before. I'd done touch and goes there before. Um, but this is the first time I did a proper full stop landing at different airfields. So, I hopped out of the airplane and went to the local restaurant and had a drink and then walked to the tower, paid for my landing, walked back to my airplane and flew onwards.
Wow, man, that's amazing. So now
So
you're
that
you're
was really
getting used to being alone on a plane, basically.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's really fun. Also because, like you can just kind of sit there and like you can play some music like quietly, not too loud. Um, and just sitting there in the airplane listening to some nice like ambient tones or like some cool music while you're flying the plane and just sort of like watching it. Like I don't turn my music up loud.
Hmm.
Some people seem to like that, but like I want to be able to hear the airplane.
Yeah,
And there are noise canceling headphones, so
that sounds
um
safer.
yeah, so I keep the music at sort of like where you can barely hear it, but it's still a very different feeling. Just sitting there alone and like really your only connection to the earth is the radio. To talk to the tower or air traffic control. Um, it's so cool. It's a very liberating feeling. So I need two more fields that I need to go to with an instructor.
Hmm.
And then for all the other fields, I just need to go there once dual, so I feel confident that I need to go there solo, so I feel confident I can land there. And then I'm gonna schedule that flight. Gonna get the airplane. I'm gonna need to book it for 5 hours, and then fly.
Nice,
Basically,
man.
take the plane for a full day. Leave in the early afternoon or like just before afternoon. Leave it around 11, and then fly. Go to two or three airports, land at those, take a break, eat something, drink something, hop back in the airplane, land at two more airports, have another like drink, get on the plane, land at three more airports, and then I'm back.
Crazy.
Yeah, gonna be wild, but it's gonna be fun. I'm very excited for it.
Wow. So that's
So
that's that's the one of the milestones.
that was one of the milestones. Was that one? The second one is as part of your requirements for examination, you need to have flown 10 hours solo.
Hmm.
Last time we spoke, I was at 9 hours and 55 minutes.
Okay.
I did a solo flight this week, so I'm now over 10 hours. So that checkbox is completed as well.
Wow.
So I now have enough flight hours to do my examination. Technically, if I do my cross country flight and
Hmm.
my pre exam check and then my exam, I can complete the practical part.
Okay.
But before I can do my exam, there's one more requirement, which is you need to complete 7 theoretical exams. And today I went and did air law,
Hmm.
which is one of the 7. It's the second one I'm doing, and I passed. So
Congratulations.
2 out of 7 done. I now know a lot of things about the rules in the air and about the laws in the air, and it's nice. It's nice to understand all these things. Um, Air law is kind of like a medium difficulty one. So I've done an easy one, communications, and now I've done a medium one. And now, kind of for the next one, I want to do a difficult one. And then what I think I'm going to do is after that, I'm going to do a medium one again, and then the other difficult one, and then the other two should be pretty straightforward. So that's kind of my planning now, and I kind of want to do one a week. So lots of books ahead in my future.
Like you're gonna be a certified pilot before the end of the year. It sounds.
I mean, at this rate, if I continue at this rate, it's going to be July.
Oh my
Like
god,
honestly, like it's not going to be super long anymore.
that's
Like
like
I
two
only
months
need
from
two more
now.
steps. Yeah, I just need two more steps, right? Like I need to do that cross country, and I need to complete my theory, and then I can go for my pre-exam check. And as
Wow.
soon as I complete the pre-exam check, I can do my examination flight. Which, yeah, I don't know. I'm very excited about it, but it is a. I know it. I'm definitely going very fast with this.
That's great,
Um,
man.
yeah, I'm having a great time. I can't wait to have my license and to just like decide to do some flights. I'll come visit you sometime.
Ha, yeah, that would be great. Come pick me up with
You're
your
not that
plane, and
far.
then we go fly somewhere.
Yeah, I'm all for it. I mean, there's no limitations on passengers, so
Ah, that's cool, man.
uh, the only thing I can't do is I can't ask you for more money than it costs me to do the flight.
Okay.
So basically, you can't make a profit.
Okay.
That's the only requirement
Uh,
with the type of licenses I have.
they know that you're an Arab, right? And then we'll get in a fight just for me to try to pay you for the gas. I'll be like, I need to pay you. Like, astaghfirullah.
You
No,
can
no, this flight is on
you
me.
can you can do that though. I can break even on the flight.
Okay.
That's allowed, but I can't make a profit. That's not allowed. I'm kind of curious. How long would it take to fly over there to where you're at?
This should be an hour, hour
Well,
or
yeah, but a
two.
Cessna doesn't fly that fast.
Yeah. Okay.
I have hmm. I have 5 hours.
Okay.
5 hours of flight. 5 hours, 15 minutes to get to you.
That's not too bad. We'll stop
It's
for
not too bad.
your fuel. We'll have something to eat.
Yeah, exactly. Probably take a stop somewhere in Denmark or something, right?
Yeah. That sounds cool, man.
Yeah, and then we can just fly a circle around there. Or I can just fly to you and then rent an airplane there, and we can just fly a circle there. It's
Would you
probably
eventually
easier.
like be able to buy your own like tiny airplane? How much does
Yeah.
are these things expensive?
No, so that's the thing. I didn't realize that, but so the Cessna 172, the plane that I train on, is the most built airplane on Earth.
Okay.
Like it's the airplane that has been built the most. There's two companies that build them, both called Cessna, one over in the U.S. and one down in France, and they've been built since like the '60s. But these things
Hmm.
get maintained very strictly, and a lot of parts get replaced over time. So you can still buy 1960 Cessnas, right?
Yeah.
Um, if you want to buy like a not super well equipped Cessna from the from say the 1970s, it's probably going to be $30,000, right?
Okay.
Which is kind of like it's a car. It's a brand new
Yeah.
car,
Yeah. That's like the
right?
price of
If
a car. That's
Yeah, just a new car, right? Not like normally I don't buy brand new cars,
yeah.
but if you were to buy a brand new car, you can get a reasonably well maintained Cessna for that money. And then there's obviously the additional costs that come with it, maintenance, storage, stuff like that. So it's not a cheap thing to own an airplane. But
Yeah.
with the amount of flying I do, it's probably cheaper than renting one,
Yeah. For
right?
sure. And also, like, there's people that own boats and stuff like that, and they are within that range,
Yeah,
plus storage, plus whatever, especially if winter times and stuff like that. So yeah, that's
yeah,
that's cool, man. With the amount of flying
yeah.
that you do, like, I mean, it'll probably make sense for you to have your own plane in your backyard.
Right, and it's also that it's better if you want to fly two places, because if you rent an airplane, you rent it for the time it's gone.
Yeah.
So if I want to fly to Sweden,
Hmm.
then I don't just pay rent for the time that I'm flying. I'm also paying rent for the time it's just parked in Sweden.
Okay.
That's expensive.
Yeah. That mounts up.
Right. Well, if you own the airplane, then it doesn't matter where the airplane is. You pay storage fees, but those are a lot cheaper than rent. And the rent is on top of the storage fees because you still need to store the airplane. So um, it's mostly that. I'm seriously looking at potentially buying an airplane.
That's cool, man. And like, you can also like part time in like spraying fields with pesticides and stuff
Yeah.
like that.
So apparently, I didn't know this, but for ships and boats, there's such a thing as buying part of a
Yeah.
boat or a plane,
Yeah.
where you basically buy a timeshare. So, for example, four people buy an airplane, and then they split the maintenance cost and they split the storage cost, and then each of them have the right to use it for 25% of the time.
Hmm. I've
So
heard
you
of
just
that
kind
for
of
boats actually. You can do that for
right,
planes too. Then.
yeah. And I'd never heard of that, but that's actually really smart and kind of great.
Yeah.
Just being able to be like, hey, I'll buy 25% of an airplane. So then you're looking at like $10,000
Hmm.
or $8,000.
Yeah.
Um, and then I can fly it a quarter of the time, so I could have it a week per month.
Well, man.
Um,
Yeah, and you probably know a bunch of pilots by now, so that could work.
I've met a few, yeah. So yeah, I don't know. Like I'm really looking at all the options, but just getting that second exam out of the way, I was very nervous for this one. I really
That's cool.
was. Like law is one of those. It's not a difficult subject, but it's just a very trivia esque subject.
Yeah.
It's not like there's like logic. It's like, no, this is the rule, right? Like this is the rule. There's all these different types of airspace, and then it's like, okay, in this type of airspace, what rules apply, and you just have to memorize it.
Yeah.
I'm not super good at that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Like that's not my strength. My strength is like figuring out relations between things. You
Yeah.
know, like how things connect to each other and stuff like that. But like just like recite this information, that's kind of not what I'm good at.
Yeah.
So I was very nervous for this one. But yeah, 20 questions. I had two errors.
Wow. And that's
So
not your strong point.
yeah, yeah. Also, I learned it in 2 days,
Wow, man. Well done.
which I'm pretty proud of that. So yeah, ongoing. Next one is going to be one of the difficult ones. Okay, help me pick. Should I pick meteorology about weather or navigation about navigation?
Navigation.
Okay, we're going to do navigation first.
Fuck. Cool, man.
Whew, okay. I guess I've been just stuck with that choice, so I'm glad that somebody else could make it for me.
It was, if it's any help, it was completely random.
Good, good, good. Yeah, okay, navigation. I'm
Cool.
good
We
with
gotta
that.
hear the update about how did that go.
Yes. Well, hopefully next week or somewhere during the next week.
Nice, man. Yeah, fingers crossed.
Yeah. Yep. I'm excited.
Super.
Cool. Have you done anything that like watched any TV or played any games or
Yeah,
something?
yeah,
Because
yeah.
I'm
So
just
no
I'm just talking
flying.
about airplanes for too long.
I'm not doing anything as impressive, but yes, I'm watching some TV shows or playing some video games, and I could talk about those for a bit. So
Okay, let's do that.
I've been watching this show on HBO called "We Own This Town." No, we own this city.
We own the city. Okay, I haven't heard of it.
It's a miniseries. Supposed to be a six-episode miniseries. Only four is came out, and there's one coming out later this week and one later next week. So like we have two more coming out before the show is done. It is from David Simon, one of the creators of The Wire. And if anybody's
Oh,
been
okay.
listening to my to my Suhoor bites, The Wire is my all-time favorite TV show.
Yeah.
I think The Wire is probably one of the most my favorite pop culture things ever to be done. Best
Wow.
writing and TV ever, in my opinion. And yeah, amongst like I have yet to see a show that comes close until I watched this one.
Oh wow, that good.
Yeah, because it's the same writer of The Wire writing it as if he is writing The Wire about some very current topics, about also the city that he knows the best, which is Baltimore. See, David Simon is a criminal journalist.
Yeah.
So he's been following like the drug trade in Baltimore his entire career, and he knows like police officers, ex convicts, actual convicts, people that are in the drug trade or have been in or out the drug trade since. And when he wrote The Wire, he covered everything from like how the political system, the legal system, and the realities of the street all intersect to create the reality that the citizens of those cities have to live by. And in the writing of The Wire, like he used a lot of his experience. There's a lot of uh, real stories that happened that informed the writing of the show. But it was also like people from his life, like there were ex-convicts that were like like that have like done their time, and now they're leading a straight life, and they're playing roles in the show. So like there are people like acting gangster, but they're actually gangster. You know what I mean? Like there's a level of realism that the show goes through that is phenomenal, and it covers like aspects of the cop work that is like the paperwork, and how the paperwork can sometimes get in the way or help, and the politics of the paperwork and all of that stuff. It's a deep show that requires a lot of attention because it has so many characters.
Right.
And I know like I'm not supposed to be talking about The Wire right now, but about another show. But The Wire is basic, but because like I can't talk about the show
Okay.
without talking about The
Well,
Wire.
well, I talked about aviation, so you can talk about the wire.
The what I love the most about The Wire, and why I think it's like a brilliant piece of writing generally over its 5 seasons, it remained consistent, is that there is no good guy or bad guy. Like
Right.
you can't look at the character and say that person is good or bad. You say
They
that
just
person is
are
human.
people with certain like viewpoints, and they're just living out those viewpoints.
Exactly. And like, they do, some of them do awful things, but they also do really nice things. And there are
Right.
some people that don't do awful things, but they're just, like ill mannered people, you
Right.
know? And that contrast of like, the realities of the world, like how every of those characters you agree and disagree with the entire time. There's no flat out, you know, cartoonish villain the
Mm-hmm.
entire time is one of the things I love the most about The Wire. I think We Own the City doesn't do it to that extent. There are some characters that, though that they have their depth still, there are some characters who go like, well, that's really evil at its heart.
Right.
But also, like, the show still goes through, like, explaining the details and the depth of how those motivations, why those characters are acting that way. So even like the most evil character in the show, you kind of understand why they're doing what they're doing to some extent. Yeah, just brilliant writing. I
Right.
think
And
this
that's also the case for
for this show,
We Own
for
the
We Own
City.
the City,
Yeah.
it's the
Okay.
same
Wow.
kind of standard. It is
So
it is
what is it
it is
about?
not at the
It's about
yes.
what is
Go
it
ahead, bro.
about?
Well, it's about, like as I said, like he is writing about what he knows best. It's about police officers and the drug
Hmm.
trade in the city of Baltimore. But it adds the extra dynamic, which I think it makes it quite current, because it's also telling these events during the events of Black Lives Matters.
Oh
So there is
wow.
there is the elements of like like all these dynamics of like poverty, class, social structure, bureaucracy, and then they add to it corruption, racism, and other elements.
Yeah.
And it's just like a super interesting TV show because of that. It shows like another angle about how complex the criminal justice system is, or how complex the problem of that criminal justice system is.
Right.
Um, yeah,
Oh, that
so there's
sounds
still two.
intense. I might check that out actually. Is it
Yeah,
is it a
it's
big
so
series or is it
it's a mini series. So 4 episodes are out. There's still two more to go. And if you've never seen The Wire, it's a good sample. So like you watch this show, you go like, all right, that's good. And I tell you, all right, so if you like this, The Wire is like 5 times better. So I still think that The Wire is superior to this for sure, but
Okay,
but
okay.
it's it's a taste, So like if you've never seen it, you can watch this and see if that's your kind of thing or not.
Okay.
Because if you're expecting like CSI kind of show in which like it's over glorified police work that is not realistic at all, you're not get it with this show. But it's like a more dark, political, and complex show,
Okay.
generally speaking.
It sounds pretty intense.
It's quite intense. Yeah, it is. It is. But also, it's one of those things that, like, totally up my alley. I couldn't stop myself from watching it. So I'll give you an update once I watch the last 2 episodes. Now, like, I have them
Okay.
on my calendar when they come out because I want to finish this thing and see where it goes. But yeah, it's good.
Okay.
And if you like this,
Okay.
Rami, definitely check out The Wire. Like, I cannot
Okay.
recommend this. And
Okay.
the
But
thing is,
like
like,
the wire feels too big.
when I recommend The Wire to people, uh, one of two things happen. They either like watch the
Right.
entire thing and now it's also their all-time favorite show, or they watch 2 episodes and you go like, I can't.
Right.
I haven't had like an
Yeah.
in between. Like I haven't had somebody goes like, yeah, it's okay. No, it's either like it becomes your favorite show of all time, or like, no, I need to focus and dedicate some time to this, so I can't do it right now. It's one of those two.
I think I think my thing would, and this is just me and TV series, but like that's the TV series for me tend to be too much. Right?
Mm.
Like how much is the wire? Like
5 seasons,
so like what, 50 episodes?
something like that. Yeah,
Yeah. That's a lot for me. Like there's rarely anything that ever gets my attention that much.
yeah.
Um but you know what? I'm going to give We Own This City a go, and if I'm as impressed as you are, I'll follow your recommendation. I'll go watch The Wire.
Cool, man. Cool.
If
It's
not,
worth checking out.
then you have to play Destiny.
Fair, fair, fair.
Oh yeah, you have quite some faith in this The Wire thing then.
Oh yeah, well, yeah. Like I said, if but
Oh,
I don't know your TV watching habits, but you've watched a couple of TV shows as we covered this podcast, so
right.
yeah, I can see you getting
But they're
into
usually
this.
the short kind of things, right?
Yeah,
That's why I asked how many episodes is it, and when you said 6, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna watch this,
yeah, yeah. So that's
right?
why like We Own the City is 6 episodes, so you can get into
Hmm.
that. The Wire is 60, so it's a different different thing
Yeah, that's a
altogether.
bit more of an investment.
Yeah, yeah. I remember like there was once
Um,
like Barack Obama was saying that The Wire is also his favorite show.
Good company, good
Yeah,
company. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I'll give it a I'll give We Own This City a look. It sounds really good.
cool, man.
Um,
I also played the video
yeah.
game.
Oh,
Uh,
cool.
I played Jurassic World Evolution 2 on
Okay.
Xbox.
I had not even considered that game.
Yeah, I haven't played the first one of these. So like this comes from Frontier Development.
Hmm.
It's a studio in the UK. They're known for the roller coaster tycoon games.
Yep.
Excuse me. They also since then built a different, like they built Zoo Tycoon and the Planet Coaster. So like they have the experience of building like these theme park simulator games. And they made one of these already, Jurassic World Evolution. I think it came out like 2018. I never checked it out. Uh,
Right.
this one came out last year, if I'm not mistaken. Late last year, I think November. Yeah, it came out November 2021, and it's now got released on the Game Pass. So I was like,
Yeah.
why not? I'll check it out.
Sure.
And it is kind of what you'd expect. You build the Jurassic Park. There's dinosaurs. You go and rescue the dinosaurs. Rescue. I guess there are multiple scenarios. Okay, so let me back up. It's a
Okay, let's back up.
it's a simulation theme park building kind of game,
Okay.
in which like you're building a Jurassic Park of some sort.
Uh-huh.
You build structures, you build enclosures, and you put dinosaurs in those enclosures, and you make sure those dinosaurs are happy. That's like the general target of what this
Do, th-
is.
do they get a smiley face if they're happy?
They don't get a smiley face. But however, what I
Uh-uh.
did yesterday
I'm
is
out.
I put two groups of dinosaurs that don't like each other in the same enclosure. There was no smiley faces, but they really went on, went at each other. It was a disastrous situation in which I had
Yeah.
to assume control of a helicopter, fly,
Okay.
in which the game turns into third person. Now I'm flying a helicopter game.
Oh.
Fly the helicopter over the enclosure. Then I take control of the sniper. So now it's a third person over the shoulder. I'm controlling the sniper. And
Wow.
then I shoot the dinosaurs with the tranquilizer until they fall asleep.
I did not expect any of this.
Right? I was caught by surprise. So the dinosaurs fall asleep, and then I order a transport vehicle to come and pick up the sleeping dinosaurs and drop them in their own enclosures.
Wow.
But now,
Okay.
but now they're in the new enclosure, so we don't know the situation yet. So I need to control the rangers. So they are now sitting in a jeep. I now drive that jeep in third person. I'm driving the jeep into the enclosure, and then in third person over the shoulder, I take control of one of the rangers in the back of the jeep, and I use the binoculars to take a good look at those dinosaurs.
This is not the game I was expecting it was based on what I was seeing.
Right? So I think it's like for the most part, you are building a theme, like the Jurassic theme park part. It's isometric. Well, it's not isometric. It's 3D. It's fully 3D, so you can rotate the camera in any way you want.
Right.
And then, like you build the structures. You need to power some of those structures, so you build like a power generator. You need to put like a visitor site that so that the people can come and visit your park, and now they can look at the dinosaurs. So they have all these mechanics that you'd expect from a tycoon slash city builder game. And there's crowd control, and there's people coming in. Um, but they have these elements in which you can actually take direct control over vehicles and then like control situations. Occasionally, like a Sim City or something like this, a disaster could happen, like a sandstorm. And then during the sandstorm, when in the chaos of the sandstorm, some of the dinosaurs can escape. So like they break through the cage, and now they're out. So now you need to hide the people that are visiting the park into an emergency center before the dinosaurs eat them.
Amazing.
And then like yeah, now everybody is hidden. The dinosaur is still on the run. You get on that helicopter. You try to tranquilize that dinosaur. Then you send the repair unit to repair the fence. Then transport unit to put that dinosaur back in the enclosure where it belongs. So
I actually this sounds pretty fun.
it's a lot more fun than I expected. So like I was like, I'll
Yeah.
download this. I'll check it out for 10 minutes, and then I was like playing this for 2 hours. I was like, all right, cool. The taking direct control of the helicopter or the jeep at first it was kind of exciting, but then it's like when I need to take control of the Jeep every time I need to do a bunch of things, I thought it started to get a little bit too much.
Right.
But then I also realized that I could also skip that entirely. I could issue the commands for the Jeep, and then the Rangers can go do their things while I'm busy managing other things.
Right. So it's an optional.
It's an optional thing. You can like
Oh,
take direct control of the situation and like wrap things up your way, or you can just let the AI do it while you're busy building fences or like decorating or healing a dinosaur or whatever.
it feels very much like that 2000 era of RTSs where assuming control of characters was like a big thing.
Yeah, yeah.
It's kind of cool.
I think like there used to be a time when like these types of games were almost entirely 2D, just because you couldn't do this much polygons on screen at the same time
Hmm.
for what this was supposed to do. So the idea of going into first person and controlling a unit was kind of wild. I think like I remember the first time it was done in Dungeon Keeper. I was like, oh, okay, I'm in first person. I'm controlling one of the minions. This is crazy. Um, but also like
One of the
you were very limited in what you can do.
one of the first RTSs I ever played had that, and this was like 1996 or something. It was called Urban Assault. I really
Ah,
love
oh
that
yeah,
game.
Urban Assault.
Yeah, I really, really love that game. But it was from 1998.
Yeah, that's a blast from the past.
Yeah, yeah, I really like that game.
Yeah, uh, I can't remember much of it actually.
It was an RTS game where you could
You
take
controlled the
control of like
tanks, right?
helicopters and tanks and airplanes and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I remember you controlling the tanks, and
yeah,
you could blow up buildings.
yep,
Yeah, wow.
yeah. I don't know, like cool stuff. I just realized that I've never looked up the developers of that game.
Frontier or the
No,
other one.
no, of Urban Assault
Yeah,
because I really, really like that game.
yeah. So Dungeon Keeper was 97, so it's the year before that.
Oh wow! So
Yeah.
really, this was in the water back then,
Yeah, so it's like very early day of like, can we now control, units from the first person perspective because we are
right?
now moving towards 3D.
Yeah.
Because all early like Sim City, RTS, StarCraft, all of the stuff were sprites, so you couldn't do that
Yeah,
technically.
yeah.
But yeah, but like now this game like because move. I don't know. I don't want to count the years. A lot of years. A lot of years in the future, and now
Oh
it's fully
yeah.
realized in 3D, and you can do whatever you want. So I think the game kind of takes full advantage of that with the Jurassic World, and it makes the controls via a controller actually make a lot of sense. So like I found controlling everything with a controller worked really fine. I didn't miss a
Okay,
keyboard or anything like that. Yeah, it was fun. It was fun.
it sounds good.
It was
Sounds
fun. There's
good.
a bunch of scenarios that you can do. So there's like an original campaign with like a story and whatever to why you're doing these
Oh jeez.
4 or 5 different scenarios. But there's also a what if game mode that will have you like go through different situations from the movies. So like from the original Jurassic Park all the way to the new Jurassic World movies.
Okay,
So you get to like relive some of those situations.
that sounds terrifying.
Yeah, I I no, but mostly as hopefully not the guy in the toilet, but as the guy that
Right? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh my god, I had so many nightmares about that.
is.
Like I never trusted a porta potty after that movie. I watched that when I was way too young, and
That's very young. It took me a while to, as a kid, to like Jeff Goldblum again, because
right.
he was the one that threw the flare towards the
Yep.
toilet. I was like, one flare, man. What did you throw two? You didn't need to do
Then why did you do that? You didn't have to. You didn't have to do him like
you
that.
didn't have to do the guy like that. So no,
Yeah, I didn't trust porta potties forever after that.
I can totally understand. But like, yeah, so like you're not gonna experience the park from the guy in the toilet, but perspective, but more from the person that was managing the park. So spare no
Yeah.
expense and go wild.
Well, sounds good.
Yeah, it's fun. I'll play
I
some
know.
more.
I haven't really played video games.
Yeah, you're
Um,
too busy
I
flying.
mean,
You might as well
yeah,
keep your eye on the road while you're doing
yeah. I got my new Steam Deck right without the shattered screen.
it. Yeah.
And I installed Windows again. Windows 11 now works on the Steam Deck, and the audio drives for Windows are there, so it now actually fully works.
Wow.
And I just love it as a Destiny and Flight Simulator machine. Like those are the two games that are on there, and that's what I'm playing, and I'm pretty happy with that. Destiny's launching a new season today.
Ah,
Yeah, big one again. Um,
how often
so
do they launch
there's
seasons? It sounds frequent.
every 3 months,
Okay.
and they're big. These are big seasons. Like the expansions are once a year, right?
Wow.
And expansions are sort of like the main chess pieces moving on the board, and then the seasons are sort of like the chapters of that book.
Mm-hmm.
And so with the Witch Queen, with the previous season and Season of the Risen, um, they started this complete rework of their main elemental classes.
Mm-hmm.
So in Destiny, a very long story, but basically you choose between a Titan, which is the tank, a Hunter, which is sort of like the stealthy, nimble character,
Mm-hmm.
and a Warlock, which is sort of like your mage kind of character.
Yeah.
So think like tank, archer, mage, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then as one of those classes, you can then choose an elemental sort of like affinity, and that changes what powers your character has. So the archetype stays the same, but your sort of like your powers change. So there's arc, solar, void, and then recently they added stasis.
Mm-hmm.
And with the last expansion, they basically when they added stasis, the latest one, before then the three that exist had existed for like 5 years. So stasis getting added was a really big deal because effectively the sandbox now has to be balanced against four different archetypes, and each of those archetypes then has three ways of playing them, and it became a lot.
Mm.
But for stasis, instead of what they had before with those existing classes with void and solar and arc, where you picked one of three options, they basically made it sort of like a kind of like you have an amount of energy and you can buy abilities with that. You can kind of shift them around and choose a different type of grenade or like a more powerful ability, or like when you do this, then that happens. So you can kind of really build your own character.
Nice.
But only Stasis had that. The other three classes didn't. The other three elemental classes. So with the Witch Queen, they basically redid the Void class to match Stasis system.
Mm-hmm.
And now with this season, they've done the same for Solar. And so that's like just the amount of balancing work and the amount of content work they're doing, and that's without actually the story they're adding and like all that. Just the fact that they're rebalancing their sort of like core player verbs. It's just wild. Completely new system. Um, they just keep doing that. I don't know why Bungie keeps doing that to themselves, but it's really impressive.
The
Um,
approach to live service is really fascinating.
it's so admirable.
Yeah.
They really have figured out how to do it by now. But nobody can do it that way. Like the amount of resources that must be going into this is staggering. And like if you're Fortnite or Roblox, maybe, but like Destiny sits very lonely where it sits at the moment. I feel
Mm.
in terms of just like the amount of content and production and risk that they're willing to take. So story wise, it looks like an amazing story, like a big spaceship from before, like that was sort of like an evil spaceship has reappeared, but kind of everything has changed. It's now completely derelict and it's like covered in like darkness, and like it looks like stuff's about to go down. Not to the degree it was with the expansion, but definitely stuff is happening. So very curious where this season's story goes out to. I hope it's a bit of a longer story than last season. Last season had 6 weeks of story, and then 6 weeks of like Guardian games, which is sort of like a competition between different players. I don't really care for competition, so I kind of zoned out of Destiny for the past few weeks. So I hope this is a bit of a story season. I can't wait to
when is it coming out again?
shoot at things. 10 minutes ago.
Oh wow! Okay, so you're gonna go and play it straight after.
I just. Oh, look at the time.
Well, now that you mention it, shouldn't hold you any more from jumping into Destiny. Osama's not here, so let's save the emails for next week. And also,
yeah, that sounds good.
Let's release Rami on Destiny as quick as possible.
Yeah, let me just go hit the outro music and then say Assalamu alaikum real quick.
All right, thank you everybody for joining us. Join us. That's all the Habibis there is this week. Join us next week for more. But for the time being, Rami, are you still here? Oh, he's gone.
I'm still here.
Okay.
Let's go.
For the time being,
Yalla.
Salam.
Salam.
That was the Habibis podcast for this week. I am Fawzi Masmar, your host for this episode. You can find me on Twitter at Fawzi Masmar. My fellow Habibis were Osama Dorias, who you can find on Twitter at Osama Dorias, and Rami Ismail, who you can find on Twitter at THA_Rami. Send us your questions, stories, and suggestions via info@thehabibis.com. Intro and outro music was provided by Malik Zubayla, and the logo was provided by Ibrahim Hamdi. The Habibis is a weekly podcast about 3 game developers drinking good Arab tea, with new episodes launching every Friday, inshallah. If you enjoyed the show, don't forget to subscribe to your favorite podcasting service, or check out thehabibis.com for more information. Thank you for listening. Salam.